The rain had been falling for hours, turning the back roads into ribbons of slick black asphalt. Ethan Marshall gripped the steering wheel of his aging SUV a little tighter as he glanced in the rearview mirror. In the back seat, his 6-year-old twin daughters, Chloe and Claire, were leaning against each other, sharing a blanket patterned with cartoon owls. Both had the same chestnut brown hair pulled into neat ponytails and matching blue raincoats, their eyelids drooping after a long day in town. They were almost home when Ethan spotted something odd up ahead, the pale glint of metal against the wet roadside grass, half hidden by the bend in the road. As he slowed, the shape resolved into a sleek black luxury sedan, its front wheel turned at an awkward angle. One of the headlights flickered weakly through the drizzle. But it wasn't the car that made him pull over. It was the figure standing beside it. A young woman, soaked through despite the umbrella in her hand, was leaning against the driver's door. Her blonde hair clung to her face, and even from a distance, Ethan could see she was favoring her left leg. She tried to take a step toward the road, but winced and steadied herself on the car. Ethan rolled down the window. "You all right, ma'am?" She glanced over, startled, then seemed to take him in the tall man in the driver's seat, the two curious little faces peeking from the back. Her voice was soft but tense. I think I twisted my ankle. My phone died, and there's no signal here anyway. Roadside service won't come out here quick," Ethan said, already shifting into park. "Hang on. Dad?" Chloe whispered from behind him. "Is she hurt?" "I think so," Ethan said. "Stay in the car for now." Rain spattered his flannel shirt as he stepped out. Up close, he saw she was younger than he'd first thought, maybe early 30s, and undeniably striking, despite the fatigue in her eyes. She wore a tailored beige coat, now darkened with rain, and held herself with a kind of poise that seemed out of place on this lonely road. "Name's Ethan," he said, offering a steady hand. "Let's get you somewhere dry." She hesitated, then accepted his arm. "It's Olivia. Olivia Bennett." The name rang faintly familiar, though he couldn't place it. He helped her to the passenger side of his SUV, opening the door so she could ease in. Chloe and Claire's eyes went wide. "Hi," Claire said softly. "We have snacks." Olivia managed to smile. "That's very kind." Once she was settled, Ethan grabbed a flashlight from the back and checked the sedan. The front tire was shredded, and there was a shallow dent along the fender, probably from hitting the shoulder too fast. No fixing it here. He locked the car for her and slid back into the driver's seat. "Nearest urgent care's 20 minutes out," he said. "We can get that ankle looked at. You don't have to," she began. "Storm like this? Leaving you out here's not an option." She glanced at the twins. "I don't want to trouble your family. They'd never forgive me if I didn't help," Ethan said. In the rear view, Chloe nodded solemnly. At the small town clinic, the nurse confirmed it was a mild sprain. Olivia thanked them repeatedly, but Ethan waved it off. "You need a ride somewhere? Friend? Family?" Her gaze dipped for a second. "No one nearby. I was headed to my property, out past Willow Creek." Ethan knew the place, a big house on the hill that had been empty for months. "That's a long drive in this weather. Roads will ice over tonight." Olivia hesitated again, then said quietly, "If it's not too much, could you drop me at a motel?" Chloe leaned forward. "She can stay with us, right, Dad? We have the couch." Ethan chuckled. "Let's see what Miss Bennett wants." Olivia looked torn. "I couldn't impose. You'd be safer there than in some roadside motel," Ethan said. "It's just for the night." After a moment, She nodded. All right. Thank you. Their small rented house was warm, if a little cramped. The twins immediately busied themselves, fetching extra pillows and a blanket for the couch. Olivia sank onto it gratefully, her damp coat hanging on a chair to dry. This is cozy, she said, looking around at the mismatched furniture and the stack of children's books on the coffee table. Cozy is code for small, Ethan said with a wry smile. Tea or coffee? Tea, please. Chloe and Claire took turns peppering her with questions. Did she have pets? What was her favorite ice cream? Why was her car so shiny? Olivia answered patiently, even laughing once or twice. Later, when the twins were in bed, Ethan brewed a second cup of tea and sat across from her. So, he said, Olivia Bennett. That name rings a bell. Her expression shifted, almost wary. You might have seen it in the news. I run Bennett Design Group. Ethan blinked. He had it was a luxury home design firm, known for million-dollar projects. He tried to reconcile that image with a woman now curled under his spare blanket in his modest living room. Guess I wouldn't have pegged you for roadside trouble, he said finally. It happens to everyone, she replied, her voice softer now. Though I suppose not everyone ends up rescued by a stranger and his two very charming daughters. Outside, the rain eased into a steady patter. Inside, the quiet between them felt oddly comfortable. Ethan stood. Get some rest. We'll figure out your car in the morning. As he headed for his room, she called softly, Ethan, thank you. Really? He just nodded. Good night, Olivia. The rain had stopped by morning, leaving the road outside glistening under a pale sun. Ethan woke to the muffled whispering of Chloe and Claire, the kind of whispering that somehow made them louder. Is she still here? Chloe asked. Don't wake her, Claire replied, already leaning into the living room. Olivia was still on the couch, curled under the blanket they'd picked for her blonde hair spilling across the pillow. She looked younger in sleep, and softer, not the polished businesswoman from the headlines, but someone who'd been through a long night. Kitchen! Ethan mouthed, and the girls padded after him. He made coffee and pancakes, because pancakes were the twins' way of making guests stay just a little longer. By the time he'd set the table, Olivia was awake, blinking at the morning light. I meant to be gone before you were all up, she said. No one leaves before pancakes, Claire declared. Olivia smiled a real smile this time. Well, I wouldn't want to break the rules. They ate together, the twins filling the air with stories about school, their art projects, and a very competitive book drive. Olivia listened, asking small questions that made the girls talk even more. Halfway through, she set down her fork. I should get back to my car and have it towed. Then I'll be out of your way. You can't just leave, Chloe said. You promised to show us how to make napkin flowers. Olivia glanced at Ethan. Maybe after we deal with the car? Ethan nodded. We'll take a look. If it's fixable enough to drive to town, Hal at Miller's can finish the job. The sedan was still where they'd left it, glistening in the sunshine. Ethan crouched to inspect the damage. Tires shredded, rims bent. I can put the spare on, but you'll need it straightened before it's safe long term. She stood beside him, ankle wrapped from the night before. I didn't see the curve until it was too late. Storm will do that. The twins hovered close, peeking into the trunk as Ethan searched for the jack. Inside were neat bundles, a blanket, a leather portfolio, a rolled tube of blueprints. What's this? Claire asked. Plans for a house, Olivia said. One I'm working on. Chloe's eyes widened. Can we see? Later, she promised, Ethan had the spare mounted within minutes. "This'll get you to Hal's. I'll follow." Hal's garage smelled of oil and coffee. The owner didn't blink at Olivia's name, just told her it'd take a couple of hours to straighten the rim. The waiting area was small but warm, and the girls immediately claimed a table for art time. Olivia showed them how to fold napkins into flowers. In return, they drew cats for her, explaining in detail why triangle ears were the most realistic. Ethan stepped out for sandwiches, and when he came back, Olivia was laughing, not politely, but in the kind of unguarded way that made her seem less like a stranger. When Hal rolled the rim back in, Olivia paid without a word about the price. They stepped into the midday sun, and she hesitated. "You should come see the house," she said suddenly. "The one in the plans. The girls can judge it." Ethan raised a brow. "The place at Willow Creek?" She smiled faintly. "That's the one." Willow Creek rose on a hill beyond a sweep of meadow, its white stone walls bright in the afternoon light. The driveway curved between old oaks, ending at a broad front with tall windows. Inside, it echoed. The rooms were wide and bright, but empty, beautiful in an unfinished way. "This was supposed to be a weekend retreat," Olivia said quietly. "But work, life, later always seemed like a better time." Chloe spun slowly in the big front hall. "It's like a movie house." Claire leaned against the wall. "It's too quiet." Olivia's gaze softened. "That was the idea. I didn't realize how loud quiet can be." Ethan studied her. "You still have a choice about what to do with it." She looked at him, almost testing. "Do I?" "You did last night," he said, "and again this morning." In the kitchen, the girls rummaged through empty cabinets, declaring which ones were snack-friendly. Olivia laughed, then turned back to Ethan. "Come for lunch tomorrow," she said. "We can eat here, picnic style. The girls can tell me everything wrong with my pantry layout." He smiled. "That's dangerous." "I can take it," she replied. Back at the SUV, the twins climbed in, still buzzing from the tour. "Dad," Chloe said, "we could make it not quiet." Ethan shut the door and looked back at Olivia. "Thank you," she said, and this time it meant more than just for the ride. "For letting me just be a person for a while." He nodded. "Drive safe." As she pulled away, the twins exchanged a glance in the mirror. "You like her," Claire said matter-of-factly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I like that. She likes pancakes." But later that night, as he taped their latest drawing 4 stick figures under a big house on a hill to the fridge, he realized it wasn't just the pancakes. It was the feeling of a road bending somewhere ahead, and the quiet, steady thought that maybe it was worth following. The next day dawned bright and cool, the kind of early autumn morning that smelled faintly of dry leaves and wood smoke from chimneys along the main road. Ethan stood at the kitchen counter making sandwiches, while Chloe and Claire argued over which juice boxes to bring. "Apples better," Chloe insisted. "Grapes special," Claire countered. "They're both going," Ethan said, stuffing them into the tote before they could turn it into an international dispute. They loaded into the SUV, the tote in the back with a bag of chips, a container of cut-up fruit, and the twins' ever-present sketch pads. Ethan wasn't sure what to expect from this lunch at the big house invitation, but the girls had been vibrating with anticipation since last night. Willow Creek was even more striking in daylight. The driveway curved between the oaks like a path to a secret. Olivia stood on the porch, waiting, her hair loose and catching the light, a pale blue shirt tucked neatly into jeans. She waved as they pulled up. "Welcome," she said, ushering them inside. I hope you like bare floors. Furniture's still on back order. The kitchen had been cleared of boxes since yesterday. The white counters spotless except for a cutting board and a vase of fresh flowers. You brought lunch, so I thought I'd make dessert, she explained. It's nothing fancy, just berry tarts. The girls lit up. We like fancy, Chloe declared. I like tarts, Claire added. They spread a blanket in the sunniest part of the living room, the afternoon light spilling across the hardwood. Lunch was simple but good. Ethan's sandwiches, chips, fruit, and Olivia's tarts that disappeared in minutes. The twins sprawled out drawing in their sketch pads while the adults leaned back against the wall with coffee. So, Ethan said, how does a place like this end up empty for so long? Olivia glanced around the high-ceilinged room, her expression shifting. I bought it during a strange chapter of my life. I thought filling it with beautiful things would make it feel like home. Then work exploded. I was traveling constantly, and the house became just another project I didn't have time for. The twins were listening, even if they pretended not to be. It could be a home now, Chloe said, without looking up from her drawing. Olivia smiled faintly. Maybe it could. After lunch, Olivia offered to give them the full tour. She led them through echoing hallways, into rooms that smelled faintly of fresh paint and new wood. Upstairs, the twins raced into what they immediately claimed as their room, even though they lived miles away. It's perfect, Claire declared, throwing her arms wide. It's empty, Olivia laughed. That's why it's perfect. You can put anything in it, Chloe reasoned. They ended the tour in the garden, where wild grass had taken over the intended landscaping. Olivia knelt carefully, favoring her ankle to show them the remnants of a flower bed. This was supposed to be tulips and lavender, she said. The seeds are probably still here. We could plant them again, Claire offered. Dad's good at planting stuff. Ethan chuckled. I can plant tomatoes and sunflowers. The rest is luck. The rest of the afternoon passed in small, easy moments. The twins built a fort out of moving boxes in the study. Olivia fetched an old quilt to drape over it. Ethan fixed a loose hinge on the pantry door, while Olivia hovered nearby with a glass of iced tea. You don't have to do that, she said. I don't like doors that don't work, he replied. You sound like someone who fixes more than just doors, she said quietly. He didn't answer, and she didn't press. As the sun dropped lower, they migrated back to the porch. The twins sat on the steps, sharing the last juice box. Olivia leaned against the railing beside Ethan. They're remarkable, she said softly. They're exhausting, he said, but there was warmth in it. Remarkable and exhausting aren't mutually exclusive. She hesitated, then added, I don't let people in very easily, but they make it seem like the most natural thing in the world. That's their gift, he said. Mine is keeping up with them. Her smile faded into thoughtfulness. You've built something good here, Ethan. Not just with them, with how you show up. He shrugged. I do what I can. It was nearly dark when they finally packed up to leave. The twins hugged Olivia without hesitation, promising to come back and help plant the tulips. Ethan lingered for a moment on the porch. Thanks for lunch, he said. Thanks for bringing life into this place, she replied. Driving home, the twins chattered in the back seat about how they'd decorate their room. Ethan half listened, his mind on the quiet look Olivia had given him before they left. Not sad, not exactly hopeful, but somewhere between the two. The week that followed was busy for Ethan jobs, school runs, repairs, but Olivia stayed present in small ways. She texted a photo of the garden with a caption, "Waiting for tulip experts." She sent the girls a folded napkin shaped like a swan, which they immediately attempted to replicate with varying degrees of success. On Saturday morning, she called. "I was thinking I could use some help moving a few things into the house. Nothing heavy, but I could pay in tarts." "You had me at tarts," Ethan said, and the twins squealed in the background. They spent that afternoon at Willow Creek again, this time with a delivery van in the driveway. The twins directed the placement of rugs for coziness. Olivia unwrapped dishes, and Ethan assembled a bookshelf in the study. "You really don't have to do all this," Olivia said at one point. "And yet, here we are," he replied. By the time they left, the house felt less like a project and more like a place where someone might actually live. That night, as Ethan tucked the twins into bed, Claire asked, "Do you think she's lonely?" He paused. "Maybe, but maybe she's also figuring out she doesn't have to be. She should have a family," Chloe said sleepily. Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe she's finding one." The next day, they returned again, this time for no reason at all. The girls colored at the kitchen island while Ethan and Olivia sat at the table, talking about everything from work to favorite movies. She was still guarded about certain parts of her life, but more and more, she let the conversation wander into personal territory. Childhood memories, old mistakes, the kind of regrets you only admit when you're starting to trust someone. As the afternoon sun slanted across the table, Olivia said quietly, "You know, I bought this house thinking it would make me happy, but maybe a house is just walls until there's people in it." Ethan met her eyes. "Then you're on the right track." By the time they left that evening, the twins were lobbying for a sleepover. Olivia laughed, promising, "Someday." Ethan didn't say anything, but he didn't discourage it either. Driving home, the air in the car felt warmer somehow. Not from the heater, but from the quiet certainty that this wasn't just about a house anymore. 2 weeks passed since Ethan had first seen Olivia standing in the rain by her broken-down car. In that time, the twins had visited Willow Creek so often they'd started calling it the other house, and Olivia had started texting Ethan not just about the house, but about her day, a meeting that went better than expected, a recipe she tried, a photo of the sunrise from her porch. It was a Sunday afternoon when she invited them again. "Bring jackets," her text read. "We're doing something outside." When they arrived, the garden was different. The wild grass had been cut back, the old flower beds cleared, and a stack of soil bags sat waiting. Beside them, a small wooden crate of bulbs, tulips, daffodils, and a few wildflowers. "Today," Olivia announced, "we plant." The twins squealed, grabbing gloves. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this? It's a lot of work." "That's the point," Olivia said. "I've been staring at this garden for months, thinking about what I might do with it later. I'm tired of later." For the next 2 hours, they worked together. Ethan turning the soil, Chloe and Claire carefully setting bulbs in place, Olivia following behind to cover them. It was messy, satisfying work. The twins' cheeks flushed with cold, their hair escaped from their ponytails, and Olivia's laugh came easier than Ethan had ever heard it. At one point, Chloe said, "When they grow, they'll be here forever." "Not forever," Olivia said gently, "but for a long time. And every spring, they'll come back." "That's kind of like family," Claire said. Olivia glanced at Ethan, her smile soft. "Exactly like family." They finished just as the sun began to set, painting the sky in streaks of orange and rose. Olivia brought out mugs of hot chocolate for the girls and coffee for Ethan. They sat together on the porch, looking at the freshly planted beds. "Next year," Chloe said, "we can have a picnic here when they bloom, and invite the whole class," Claire added. Olivia laughed. "We'll need more chairs." "You've got the space," Ethan teased. She leaned back against the railing, looking at him. "You know, I used to think this place was too big for me, too empty. Now I'm starting to wonder if it's just been waiting." "For what?" he asked. "For the right people to fill it," she said. As the twins ran inside to wash up, Olivia's expression turned thoughtful. "Ethan, can I tell you something?" "Sure." "I almost sold this place last year. I thought it was a mistake. This house, this town, all of it. But then, you stopped that night. And somehow, what started as a breakdown on the side of the road turned into—" She hesitated, searching for the word. "A reason to stay." Ethan met her gaze, steady. "I didn't do much." "You showed up," she said. "Most people don't." Inside, the girls had already made themselves at home, sprawled across the couch with their sketch pads. They'd drawn the garden as they imagined it would look in bloom, a riot of colors, with stick figures of themselves, Ethan and Olivia, standing in the middle. "It's us," Claire explained when Olivia looked at the picture. "In our garden," Chloe added. Olivia held the drawing carefully, as if it were fragile. "I love it," she said. Dinner that night was simple pasta, salad, and Olivia's tarts for dessert. But there was an ease in the air, the kind that comes when people stop wondering if they're welcome and simply know they are. When it was time to leave, the twins lingered in the hallway, clearly hoping someone would suggest staying the night. Olivia knelt to hug them. "You can come back anytime," she promised. "And maybe next weekend we could have that sleepover." The twins lit up. "Yes!" Ethan gave her a look. "You sure you know what you're signing up for?" "I think so," she said with a smile. "Besides, I've been told I need more noise in my life." Driving home, the girls were unusually quiet, worn out from the day. Ethan glanced at them in the mirror, two small heads leaning against each other, then back at the road. His mind kept replaying Olivia's words, "A reason to stay." The following weekend, they returned for the promised sleepover. Olivia had set up the girls' room upstairs, with air mattresses, sleeping bags, and a string of fairy lights. The twins acted like they'd moved in permanently. After they'd gone to bed, Ethan and Olivia sat in the living room with mugs of tea. The house felt different now, not just warmer, but alive. "This place suits you," Ethan said. Olivia looked around, then back at him. "It didn't before, but now." She shrugged. "Now it feels like a home. And that's because of you. And them. They just like your tarts," he teased. "And you?" she asked, one eyebrow raised. He smiled faintly. "I like that you keep inviting us back." They talked late into the night about the house, the girls, and the small turns in life that somehow lead to the biggest changes. By the time he left the next morning, there was no question in his mind Olivia wasn't just someone that helped one rainy night. She was part of their story now, and maybe, just maybe, they were part of hers too.